All right, so we've been looking at the Bhagavatam, and in particular, chapter 3, where Narada teaches the ideal of renunciation. And we've been going through a list of riddles that once you understand them and know them within yourself, you will find your freedom, absolute freedom in this world, even. So tonight, we're looking at the one, we're about the woman, actually. So I'm going to read through the whole list here, and then we'll pick up on the one for the day. One day the divine sage Narada approached them and said, "O Haryasvas, do you know the end of the field? Without knowing the end of the field, all austerities are fruitless. There is a kingdom where reigns the one and only king. There is a well from whence there is no return. There is a woman who assumes many forms. There is one who is the husband of the woman. There is a river which flows in opposite directions. There is a house which is built of 25 kinds of material. There is a bird which has great discrimination and which twitters beautiful songs. There is an object which is in perpetual motion. When you understand what these are, you will know the truth and become free." All right, so tonight the woman that we're looking at, he says that the woman is the mind, which assumes many forms or waves according to the working of the different gunas. All right, so the woman is the mind, and she changes forms constantly. Now, what does that mean? How does the mind change forms? Well, interestingly enough, we talk about it quite a bit, that you don't live in a world, you live in a mind, right? And one more time, I'll tell you why I think that. Although those of you who know me have heard this a dozen thousand times probably. But the fact is that we take everything in through our senses, which have no direct connection to the mind. So that the light the eyes take in never makes it to the mind. The sound that the ears take in never makes it to the mind. The touch on the fingers and the skin of the body never makes it to the mind. What makes it to the mind is some neurological encoding. And from that encoding, the mind has created a world of symbols, or a world of forms, for that matter. And so it cross-references the five senses, and it builds a close approximation of symbols that represent the outside world, the assumed outside world that we live in. And so when you are trapped in this world, it's because of imagination. You see, if there was no imagination, if there was no fancy, then you would have given up on the world a long time ago. You would have realized that all forms of pleasure are short-lived and they evaporate shortly thereafter. And that when you save up to buy something grandiose and big and wonderful, in time it wears out and you need to replace it or buy another one or get the new upgrade or whatever. And so this world, beyond any shadow of a doubt, is constant, fleeting, changing, and unreliable. Its happiness is short-lived and comes in small bursts separated by misery. And so this world that we live in is a mind, and this is very helpful to know because everything in the mind is composed of thought, or a wave, a vibration in the mind stuff, as it were. And so to know that this world, this mind that we inhabit, is unreal by definition, since it is only a set of symbols for something we assume is outside of ourselves. Those forms are constantly changing, and through imagination, we're tricked into pursuing things in the world because we remember the pleasure, even though it was fleeting and gone, and could in fact be out of mind and out of sight, and therefore out of awareness. The mind itself picks them up and presents them to the indwelling soul, to the spirit, shows it to you, the witness, and says, "Oh, remember this delicious thing. Remember this pleasant thing." And when it's reminding you of this beautiful thing and letting it catch the light in your mind's eye, it's not telling you about the pain that it caused before. It's not reminding you of the short-lived nature of all pleasure. It's not telling you of the time that you swore you would never do it again. The last time you went out and had that grand party and you woke up the next morning and say, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again. And the very next weekend you're out doing it again. That is because of the imagination, and that is because of this woman, the mind, who is constantly changing form and dancing before you and keeping you interested in this imagined external world through the forms and symbols of the ever-changing mind. And so to overcome that, discern, remember that this is a world of symbols. Remember that everything it has a very short duration, that nothing is lasting. And when you catch the mind building these fanciful presentations of pleasure and dreams and fulfillment at some specific unnamed day of the future, be strong. Return to that which in you is unchanging, the love and bliss of being that you carry with you all the time when you're not distracted by the symbology and constant changing form of mind.